Today, we're going to dive into this incredible story. One of those moments where history just pivots on the actions of a couple of people. It's the story of Jonathan's defiance.
So let's start with this question right off the bat. Can two people actually change the course of an entire war? I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie, right? But what we're about to see is that sometimes the real story is way more dramatic.
Okay, to really get why what happens next is so incredible, you have to understand just how bad things were. We're setting the scene on the outskirts of Gibeah, and the army there, well, army's a strong word. They're basically paralyzed.
So yeah, let's break down this hopeless standoff. You've got a leader who's completely paralyzed and an army that's literally hiding out. It's a textbook case of a totally demoralized force. Things look, well, they look grim.
And this number, this really tells you everything you need to know. 600. That's it. That is the entire force left with King Saul. We're not talking about a huge army here. We're talking about a small, terrified group of guys up against a much, much bigger enemy.
And right here, you see the massive leadership problem. The enemy, the Philistines, they've got the high ground, a super strategic spot at the pass of Michmash. And what's King Saul doing? He's sitting under a pomegranate tree. Yep, not planning, not rallying the troops, just waiting. And you can imagine that kind of inaction is just crushing for morale.
I mean, look at this comparison. It is just so stark. You've got the Israelites, 600 guys hiding, demoralized, with a leader who's checked out. And then you've got the Philistines, a big, confident garrison, holding the high ground, so sure of themselves they're sending out raiding parties for fun. Seriously, on paper, this shouldn't even be a fight. It looks like it's already over. But while the king is just sitting there, somebody else decides to do something. And this is where our story really kicks off. We're about to meet the guy who changes everything. And his plan? Well, it's completely audacious.
Okay, so what's wild is that this isn't some big official military plan. Nope. This is a secret mission dreamed up by the king's own son, Jonathan. He doesn't breathe a word to his dad, the king, or any of the commanders. He only tells one other person, his trusted armor-bearer.
And this quote right here, this is the key to the whole thing. This is Jonathan's why. He's staring at impossible odds, and he basically says, you know what? The numbers don't matter. His confidence isn't in how many soldiers he has. This single idea is what's driving this whole insane plan. And this reply? Wow. This is such a critical moment. Jonathan's plan is unbelievably dangerous. It's a suicide mission, really. But his armor-bearer doesn't even blink. I am with you, heart and soul. And just like that, a crazy idea becomes a two-man team ready to take on an entire fortress. Now, Jonathan isn't just running on pure faith here. He's smart. He comes up with this clever all-or-nothing kind of test, a sign. It's his way of figuring out if this is the right move. It's basically a test of fate, and honestly, it's brilliant. So here's how his if-then test works. Step 1, they're just going to show themselves to the enemy outpost. Super risky. Then, everything, and I mean everything, hinges on how the Philistines respond. If the enemy says, hey, wait there, they stop. Plan's off. But if they say, come on up here, that's the green light. That's the signal to attack. So, you see the two possibilities, right? Everything is balanced on a knife's edge, totally dependent on what the enemy shouts down at them. One response, and they go home. The other, and they launch a seemingly impossible attack. And there it is. The Philistines see these two guys down below, and they're just dripping with arrogance. They shout down the exact words Jonathan was listening for. It's a taunt, right? They think they're showing off how tough they are, but what they're really doing is sealing their own fate. That was the sign. I mean, just, wow. With that single taunt, the decision is locked in. There is absolutely no turning back. The test was passed.
Okay, and now the action starts. This isn't just a plan anymore. This is happening. It's real. We've got two guys, a steep cliff, and an entire enemy garrison up top.
Seriously, try to picture this scene. This isn't some easy hike. Jonathan is literally climbing up a cliff face, using his hands and his feet. He is completely exposed, totally vulnerable. And his armor-bearer is right there with him every step of the way. What an incredible image of trust.
And the result? It's immediate, and it is absolutely shocking. 20. They take down 20 enemy soldiers in their first assault. Just two guys. The surprise, the sheer ferocity of their attack, it's just completely overwhelming. And think about the scale here. We're talking about an area of about half an acre. In that small space, these two create total chaos. The Philistines have no clue what just hit them. One minute they're making jokes, the next they're being cut down by what must have felt like an unstoppable force. And this is where everything changes. What started as a tiny two-man raid is about to kick off something way, way bigger. A wave of chaos is about to be unleashed.
So here's the thing. The attack by Jonathan and his armor-bearer, that was the spark. But the fire that follows is something else entirely. It's described as a God-sent panic that just sweeps through the entire Philistine army. It's way more than just being scared of two guys. It's this deep, bone-chilling, totally unexplainable terror.
And then it's just a cascade of chaos. The panic spreads like wildfire. The ground literally starts shaking. The Philistine army just melts away. They get so confused, they start fighting each other. And that is the signal for all those hiding Israelites to come pouring out and join the chase. The entire situation is flipped on its head.
And that's the bottom line. We went from a king under a tree and a paralyzed army to a complete turning of the tide in the war. One secret act of defiance, fueled by faith, by just two men, it set off a chain reaction that led to this massive, decisive victory for Israel.
So we kind of end up back where we started, with that first question. But now we have an answer, don't we? And it leaves us with something pretty powerful to think about. What happens when that deep down faith meets real, bold action? Well, as this story shows, the result can be absolutely revolutionary.